It was a delightful derby day for New York City FC. Now, can they manage to win their third consecutive road match for the first time since 2019? And today, also some words from Hannes Wolf. He's hot right now. That and more coming up live on NYCFC Views.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer!
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right. Derby day is over. Another one coming up much later in the season. I'm Glenn Crooks, Roberto Abramowitz, your NYCFC commentators on the radio side. And I just saw this pop up from MLS Communications, Roberto. I don't know if you're aware of this. Santi Rodriguez is now third all-time, well, tied for second all-time in career assists for New York City FC with 26. He's tied with David Villa. And, you know, I suppose it's unlikely he'll catch Maxi Morales, who has 69. And maybe Maxi will have a few more before it's all said and done. One of the things we learned in training today is that Maxi he's full training now with contact. And there is a very tentative target date of June the 14th. That's when New York City will play host to the Columbus Crew at Yankee Stadium. So it could happen that Maxi Morales is in the squad on June 14th. I suppose it might happen earlier, but that's the cautious, optimistic outlook for Maxi Morales. But let's get back to what's going on now, man. So how are you doing this week, Roberto? Everything good?
I am doing fine. It's amazing what a whole bunch of wins in a row will do, right? For the team, and your announcer's feeling good about going to work. It's easier.
There's no way about it. I mean, we get up to training once a week with a number of other people there observing, and we've done this for years, and it's always a happier place when the team is winning. I mean, it makes sense.
Although we have to say, and this is something that I think it's important to share, how good the mentality is of the team when things don't go well. Okay, it's
a happier place when they're winning. You're right.
Definitely happier when it's winning. But I mean, I've seen places when things aren't going well.
Sure.
And you just don't want to ask a question. You just basically want to stay somewhere in the background and don't be noticed and try to get your no. It's not like that over there. And I think that speaks volumes of why the team is actually playing very well right now. Because I think that there's a belief that things were going to get better. There's a togetherness by the team. Everybody's bought in to the system and everybody's bought into what Nick Cushing is selling. And therefore, there's reasons why these things happen. And if you don't believe us, go speak to people who are covering the other side this Saturday and see what that's like. It ain't the same.
Well, and we're going to go through all that, the compare contrast of New York City FC and New England, looking at the head coaches in particular and how they're attempting to handle their particular situations. Nick Cushing, a difficult start, no playoffs in 23, so he's under fire. Caleb Porter, certainly under fire, despite the fact he's won 2 MLS Cups. And we're hearing all kinds of things from the New England camp. None of it's confirmed. There's nothing that we could report as factual regarding some of the infighting and conflict that is being reported by people who are not in the locker room. You know, it's always the sources, and I don't know the people that have put out these social media posts. So I'm not going to sit here and the one post we do know that came from one of the players, Mark Anthony Kay, because he was listed among some players who are having some words with other teammates or with Caleb Porter in the locker room. And Mark Anthony K just real brief tweet just said, please don't include me with these because it's not true. So,
and it's good that he did that, right? Because it then, it changes the narrative for sure. Because silence sometimes implies acceptance. And when he comes back out and repudiates it, then it takes, everybody's got to take a little bit of a step back.
Well, to be specific, Philadelphia defeated New England 3-0 at Gillette Stadium, where we're going, and the New York City Football Club will be playing the New England Revolution on Saturday night. They had a packed a big crowd of over 34,000. But New England, there's a red card. Was it 12 minutes into the game by Ryan
14
Spalding?
For Ryan Spalding. 14 minutes it was shown.
He could be like he's definitely their second, maybe third choice left back because of an injury to Brandon Bye. And so he's not available. But the fact that it happened so early and Philadelphia took advantage of that. New England is in dead last place in the MLS standings, okay? Dead last, 29 teams. 2 wins, 9 losses, 1 draw, 7 points from their 12 games. So, well, since we're on the topic, Roberto, let's stick with Caleb Porter for a moment, and then what Nick?
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
This start for New England after how many games is it for them? 12. Okay, it's
12,
their worst start in history.
Wow,
it's their worst start in history. It's never been this poor,
and they're coming off what was a shambles of a 2023 after Bruce Arena was suspended, then dismissed, and the Richie Williams situation, which is still unknown, although we know he's coaching the 2 team now. So he was in this limbo for I don't know how long. So a guy who may have been part of the disenchantment is still there. Kurt Onalfo took over as sporting director. He's a longtime soccer guy, a good soccer man, but it's they've got a lot of work to do. So a guy named Sam Minton covers the club, Roberto, for New England, and he put up a clip of how Caleb Porter. Now this is after the 3-0 loss to Philadelphia. Things are not going well, and David Romney has not been playing. So Sam Minton asked about that. You'll hear it all right here in this clip.
It's been about a month since Dave Romney's got to start. I guess just overall, what would he have to do to kind of get back into the starting 11 and just, what would it take?
You want him in the starting 11? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm just asking.
Why? Why are you asking that?
Because he was someone who got a lot of minutes.
Is that like what the fans are saying? Or?
No, because he's got a lot of minutes, especially at the beginning of the year.
I think the 2 center backs playing well. So, anybody else who want to in the starting lineup?
Wait. He said, let me see if I understood this.
Hold on. He's still talking.
So just ask him.
Oh.
Okay, why isn't he in the starting lineup?
Because his performances early in the year weren't good enough. And Kessler and Arriaga are playing well right now. So, yeah, anybody else you want to ask about?
Okay. You all set?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Well, there you go.
Can I talk?
I'm just saying that's a manager that's under pressure.
Oh my God, and poorly handled. Forget about under pressure. It was like somebody asked a normal question and he basically went on attack mode like he's a freaking Doberman. And I love Dobermans, by the way, but not when they do that. All right, so this is now he said, let me understand this, that his center backs are playing well, right?
Well, that's what he said.
Okay, so New England has conceded 3 or more goals in 3 of their last 4 games in MLS. And to say nothing about the 5 they conceded against America and then another 4 that they conceded against America in the Champions Cup. So that's playing well. Okay.
Well, maybe their goalkeepers have sucked. Look, he's being how he perceives it is being challenged by, and we don't know what other interactions Sam Minton and Caleb Porter have had over his time there. But the idea is that and one thing we know about Caleb Porter, I don't know him personally. I do like him. I appreciate his coaching style. how he's gotten his teams to win. It started at Akron, where he was a national champion, and he's won 2 MLS Cups. So the guy has an idea.
2 different teams.
Pardon?
With 2 different teams.
With 2 different teams, and one during COVID, which, anybody that coached a team through that particular environment, COVID, and won, you have to laud the leader of a program like that. Certainly the players, a lot of the credit, of course, because they're performing and executing. But in that particular year, whoever led those teams that did well, I mean, you got to give them a lot of credit.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, his resume is basically sterling, right? So for things to be going the way they're going over there, there's got to be a lot more going on. I got a chance to speak to a former high-ranking office person, per se, if I can put it that way, within MLS. And he said he won 2 cups. The guy hasn't forgot how to coach, and I'm sure he hasn't. But things are going awry over there, and the reports out of there, and we haven't been able to confirm them, have been horrific as far as what's going on in the dressing room. I mean, we don't know exactly what he inherited and what he's going to, if he survives this, which I believe he will. But what's going to happen in the transfer window come July, because it would seem that there is a lot of bad blood maybe in the dressing room, or disenchantment in the dressing room. And then he might have to, start cleaning house to be able to rebuild this team, because they're going nowhere right now.
Yeah. Again, those are reports that we cannot confirm that things are going on from a conflict standpoint. But again, it's just what a couple of years for them, and starting out so well last season with Arena at the helm. And then we probably won't publicly ever know exactly what happened there. But I asked Nick today because I wanted to kind of compare the situation a little bit. New York City had 1 win in their first 7, and the hashtag Cushing out was seen out there pretty frequently, including at the stadium in the supporter section. So I just wanted to ask him about the pressures of the position, and how he's looking at what Caleb Porter is going through as well. The coaching side of things and the pressures of coaching. We're going to New England, Gillette Stadium, and the head coach in his first year there, Caleb Porter. Now, Porter's won a couple of MLS Cups, but he's under some heat right now. Look, you can't believe everything you see on social media. There's reports of infighting, and there's obviously some issues up there. Now, I just wonder if you could just address that from your end, when there was a bit of heat on you in the early part of this season because 2023 didn't turn out to be as successful as you would have hoped.
Yeah, it's tough, right, when you're not getting the results that others expect. But Caleb is no different. The fact that he has won tells me that his mindset and his mentality is that of a winner. And when you aren't winning, it's incredibly difficult to take, because you have that expectation on yourself. But I think as head coaches, you have more. This is the one thing I've learned, is being a head coach is a game of failure, right? This is like how much failure you can cope with, and how many solutions you can find to minimize the failure. At the end of MLS seasons, there is 1 winner. So there's another guy that's happy because he's won a supporter shield, but everybody else is disappointed. When you do have issues and you do have problems, you just have to work through them. You have to keep your feet on the floor. You have to manage people. You have to find solutions for staff and for players and for tactics and for injuries. And the one thing I've learned about being a head coach, it took me 3 years to get to this point when I was the head coach of the women's team. I'm obsessed with the game, and I'm obsessed with the tactical side of the game. I probably didn't understand this in the first 3 years of being a head coach. The job is 5% football and 95% managing problems. And when you figure that one out quickly, you then become better at solving the problems, or seeing the problems and solving them before they land. And you got to not throw the baby out the bath. You got to understand that problems are coming and then try and find solutions quickly for them.
So I'd like to add to this, and where he learned how to manage, that managing people was, you heard him when he said 5% tactics, 95% managing conflict and people and figuring things out. I learned this too late in my collegiate career, but at least I picked up on it. And here's what we did. I would say the last 5 preseasons at Rutgers, because we had all, Michael O'Neill and myself, my top assistant, we had coached long enough to know, what's going to happen during the season on the negative side, on the conflict side, because it happens every year, or it may happen because it's happened 2 years ago. So you can predict the kinds of things that are going to occur during the course of the year. So what we would do, Roberto, I think you'll like this, is we would actually tell the girls in preseason, the women, the young women, the 18 through 23-year-olds, that these things are going to happen this year. How are you going to deal with it? So we would get them in small groups. We would talk about it openly. We'd laugh a little bit because some of it, would come out funny. Things like one of your teammates will be out on a Friday night before a game. What will you do? How will you handle that as a teammate? Because she's not supposed to be out. And, so you go through all these things, and now it minimizes all the crap that could happen. And you're right out front with it, man. And you're right out front of it. Or if you sense something, it's like we're going to hear about Nick and Mounsef, Nick Cushing and Mounsef Bakrar, their relationship. And Nick, he talked to, he didn't leave him lying without these goals. He just, and that's why Mounsef went over and leapt into his arms, but interesting though, right? Because you do know what's going to happen.
It's very interesting, and I had a conversation with him right after that about the fact about how coaches now have to be almost like psychiatrists in all of this, and they have to understand people, and they have to learn, as you said, how to manage people. And it doesn't mean, there are different ways of doing it. The old school was you treat everybody the same. The newer school is, you really don't do that. You start looking at individuals, and you start doing whatever is best to manage that individual. So it's a really interesting thing. And we spoke about, the fact that especially in basketball, we've seen this a lot, and maybe now we see it a lot in football as well, but more in basketball, where head coaches are more managers of people and managers of psychology, and they have assistants that deal with X's and O's on offense and X's and O on defense, and they handle all those situations. And the coach sort of is an overseer of all of that, and then at the same time, he knows exactly how to manage people. So the coaching philosophy in many cases has changed, and some people do it well, others maybe not as well. But when you look at a team such as New York City, things seem to be working very, very well in that area, because you've seen how the team has responded, and everybody seems to be pulling in the exact same direction. And you mentioned Mounsef Bakrar. When he scored that goal, I wanted to see what he did. And the first thing he did is that he ran to the corner and then made a beeline. Instead of celebrating on his own and waiting for all of his teammates to get there, he made a beeline for Nick Cushing and celebrated with Nick Cushing, because Nick Cushing has had his back the entire time. He's had his back where he didn't have to have his back, and he did. And he always was out there, always protecting him. And it obviously came across in a very good way. It helped keep the player absolutely motivated, because he hasn't started in the last 2 games, and he's been available to start. But he used 2 different starting center forwards in front of him and had him coming off the bench. So it's been a very interesting way of how to use people, and psychologically how well, this worked. And now you hope that Mounsef, now that he's got the monkey off his back, can start scoring regularly. And this isn't a one-off, because it was 18 games and something like 1,844 minutes between goals.
Well, we saw the hug there, and you'll hear Mounsef Bakrar right now. This was from the presser today, talking about scoring the goal and then what he needed to do.
Yeah, it just came in my mind, just like I was running to take one, and after I remember the coach, because he always was with me, sometimes when I don't feel good, he come to speak to me, and even before the game, he spoke to me. He said, I didn't expect that I'm coming in the game, because let's say I don't know how, but when he called me to change, I was so happy, and I said I have to do something, because it's too much, and just I did what I did, and I was so happy. And the first thing coming in my mind after the goal is the coach, so I just ran away to him.
And in the 64th minute, he scores a game-winning goal from Tavon Gray. That's why he went to Gray first, because Gray put in what was his highest quality pass as a member of the New York City Football Club. I mean, hit it low, firm. I mean, right to the front post, and then Bakrar looking very much like a striker, finishing it there. Before we continue on this path, I spoke to Nick Cushing today about the emotions surrounding the Bakrar goal, and Nick took the tact of, it's his job, and then I tried to drag a little bit more out of him. Mounsef Bakrar off the bench, and I would have to say, and I'm sure it was for you too, but just a nice moment to observe Mounsef run to you, leap into your arms, and to me, the statement there is he's thankful that you stuck with him.
I think that is it, but I hate to be a pessimist and I hate to sound grumpy, but that is my job, right? My job is to give our players the facility to be the best version of them, and when they're not, my job is to get them there as quick as possible. And when he says thank you, I say, well, you're number 9. I put you in there to score, and when you don't score, I have to find a solution to you scoring. And I did think giving him the ability to come off the bench and opening the game a little bit for him and just taking a bit of pressure off. And as head coach, you work through these moments. I didn't want to do it too early, so I kept with him and I kept getting him goal chances. He deserves all of the praise. He's worked hard enough, and he's worked at his mentality and his disappointment, and he's worked at his game. And I was always confident he was going to score the goals.
But still a nice moment, right? I mean, emotionally for you, it's just got to be. There's a reward to because part of this is your coaching intuition, and how you want to deal with your players. It has nothing to do maybe with analytics, other than he's doing some of the other things well. You just had the feeling he's going to score at an opportune moment.
Yeah, of course it's nice. It's any of those moments where players show the coach recognition, show me recognition, show me. That side, that emotional side, is, of course, I love that, and it does make me, it makes me happy. But I only coach on intuition. 99.9% of my head coaching work, my decision making, it is all on intuition. I think that is probably one of my attributes. I'm not an analytical guy. I can watch the film and I do the data, and we do all of but most of my decisions are based off what I feel.
Now, two pretty interesting things Nick has said in these last two clips. One, 5% tactics and 95% managing people, and then here, 99% intuition, and that only leaves 1% for analytics. So, my thing is, I believe he's exaggerating in both areas, but the point is well made. But I'm happy to hear he's more of an instinctual guy. And I'll tell you what, his instincts in this run of wins, 6 wins in the last 7 games, have been very good as far as who he has started, who he's brought off the bench. I mean, it's really worked well, and I think he's gotten to know his players better. He's gotten to know who works best together. But what did you think of the Bakrar comment?
I think it's a great comment, and I think that everything that he's done from the beginning of the season until he scored that goal, being so supportive of him and believing in him. And I'm sure he's giving him the same message privately that he did publicly, and having that sort of support absolutely helped Bakrar, feel better about going in there, knowing that, he doesn't have to be looking over his shoulder every 2 seconds if he flubs a shot or things don't go well, because he's afraid that he's going to get taken out. He's been given ample opportunity to be able to score. And then, just like any other player, if you're not being effective at some point, they're going to try something else.
Well, and
so I think that he's got his back, and I think it's important that he knows that. And it also tells all the other players, basically, that as long as you work hard and you continue to work hard, even if you make mistakes or you're not playing bad, I will have your back, and at some point you're going to get back in there.
Yeah. Well, that's why it pains him, Justin Hack, Andres Jason, 2 guys who have played very little. Julian Fernandez, as you pointed out to me today, I didn't even realize hasn't even played the last 3 games. So
he's played every game up until the last 3.
Yeah. So those positions, look, Hannes Wolf is not coming out. Santi Rodriguez is not coming out until he drops. And we found out today also that he was so exhausted. He asked out of the game because he knew he couldn't do the work on both sides of the ball, and they're nursing this 1-goal lead. So
that's great, by the way. Yeah. That is absolutely great. There's a lot of guys who are going to try to fight through it, and their ego and everything is like, I'm going to try to do it, and basically trying to play hero ball in a situation like that. He did the exact best thing. I'm not, I can't go anymore. Put somebody else in, and so New York City has a great replacement for him in Perea. If that's the way he wants to go, he could go a lot of different ways. He could have put in a wing and put Hannes Wolf into the middle because he can play that position well. But Perea came right in and did a great job.
So 2-1 final. Let's the first goal scored 2 minutes into the match. I mean, my goodness. No, excuse me, 3 minutes into the match. It was Alonso Martinez 2 minutes in against Philadelphia at Subaru Park. And this time from Malachi Jones, but it was from a lot of other people as well. Hannes Wolf, so composed, finishes 3 minutes in. So what a great start. We talked about the Bakrar game winner as well. But that passing sequence for the Wolf goal, and the fact that it was played through Matt Freese, the goalkeeper, which is, as far as how New York City wants to play, how the City Football Group would like their clubs to play, the build out, breaking lines. I mean, New York City, with the exception of a couple, what could have been terrible turnovers that didn't lead to anything destructive. Yeah. But for the most part, they broke down the press and broke that first line. And when you break that first line, you're eliminating 3, 4, and 5 players, and it was, there were so many positive moments like that, I thought.
And that pass from Santi to Malachi Jones was just perfect. And then Malachi off to the races, and he's a hard guy to catch. And Hannes Wolf, the composure to get that ball where he did, waiting for the defender to slide right by him, moving the ball, and then just placing it into the back of the net. Just such a great goal. Both goals were great goals.
So look at him over the last few games now. He got 2 goals and 2 assists in the last 3 games. And I still give him a 3rd assist in that Toronto match because his crossing ball hit the arm of Longstaff, which led to the penalty by Santi. So, I in my book, those are assists. Or if somebody gets taken down in the area, I think a guy should be able to get a goal and an assist on the same play on a penalty. If you get
Aren't you the same guy who's against a hockey assist?
It's not a hockey assist.
I know that it's not. I'm just saying, aren't you the same guy who's against a hockey assist?
I am, but this doesn't resemble a hockey assist. I'm talking about.
So Santi Rodriguez shouldn't get an assist on the goal that Hannes Wolf scores?
Say it again.
Santi Rodriguez shouldn't get an assist on the goal.
Roberto, you're not listening to me. I'm saying when penalties are drawn, there are times where whoever draws those penalties, if I make a move in the area, somebody takes me down, I should get it, and then I score the penalty. I should get a goal and an assist on my goal.
No. Somebody else scores it. I can buy. Okay, I can buy what you're selling.
Why wouldn't you get an assist on your own goal?
No, you can't assist your own goal. Stop it.
You can.
No, you can't. Just stop it. Nobody's doing that.
But
nobody's going with you on this. Please chime in, people. This is not happening. You don't get to assist on your own goal. That's your own goal.
This is not crazy. So
this isn't like the NBA, which, by the way, you don't get an assist if you throw the ball off the backboard and then dunk it. You don't get an assist.
I don't care. I don't care.
Fine, but you don't get an assist
for the NBA. I don't care about the NHL. I don't care about Major League Baseball. I don't care. What's the other minor sport? What sport?
The NFL.
NFL.
One that has like 96 of the top 100 TV shows of the year. That minor one?
Oh my goodness. I don't watch any of it. What can I tell you? My world is soccer, and my world is also occasionally watching the Jets until the 4th play from scrimmage in any particular season. And then, and I watch the Yankees when I can. What can I tell you, man? I don't watch all these shows. Somebody came on. Somebody was on the Sirius XM has started a channel with a musician I have never heard of. What was it? I couldn't. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm so out of touch. I don't even know who this person is. And they're getting a channel on Sirius XM, but I couldn't remember who it is. So shame on me. What else have we got here?
Go look it up now, because now I'm wondering who you're talking about, and this is going to be fun to know that it's somebody who you don't know and is like uber popular.
Here's some breaking news. A little thing we learned, I learned at training today. Hannes Wolf's parents were at the game at Citi Field, so they got a chance to see him score that
That's
goal.
pretty
Isn't that
nice.
So they
That
were in
is
from
very
Austria.
nice.
They still live in the town he grew up in Austria. And I found all this out today because I did a feature with him, a one-on-one, which is going to be on my other podcast on Frame. I hope I can get it up and published by tomorrow morning. So I hope everybody will tune in, because I really go back to where he grew up and the whole thing. And then also talked about his friendship that he developed with Joe Scally, the New York City homegrown, who now is with Mönchengladbach, and they were teammates together with Gladbach. So I asked him about this Scally friendship. We're close to Joe. What was it about Scally that where you guys became such good friends?
It was like in the start when he came. I thought like to help new players, always like talk to them, and then I thought he's a very funny guy. And if my English is not perfect, but if I think like if a guy who speaks different language than you think he's funny, then he's very funny. So yeah, we were good friends, and I asked him a lot of about the club, about the city. He gave me he told me if you can go there, go there. So it was pretty good to hear that, and easier to make the decision.
It's important to get some background from somebody like a Joe Scally or somebody you trust, I suppose, because when you're being recruited by a team, they're telling you all the right things. And you can see it, and you can watch them play. You need to know their style, but to know a little bit more about the inside, that was pretty important, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because from you say, from outside, things can hear nice or look nice than they are. But yeah, so it was and it's even not normal that someone in your team who played there.
Yeah, for sure.
Very lucky to have that, and yeah, like I said, he just spoke good things about the club and made my decision easier, for sure.
Yeah, and you still stay in touch with Joe?
Yeah, because Andres is calling him every day, I think 5 times. So sometimes I come into the FaceTime call and say some stuff.
Oh, they're close. Andres Jason, you said.
Yeah, they are very close.
Yeah. Things have changed for him in a good way. Unfortunately, there's injuries in the game. Serginho Dest suffered a very severe injury. So now Joe Scally is considered one of the top candidates to play fullback this summer in Copa America. There's some really Gold Cup, so some really cool events. Have you guys talked about that at all?
Me, not yet to him, but I think when he, I think maybe he will arrive now these days, or I don't know if he's coming before national team or not, and then we plan to go together to go to dinner all together, and then we will talk about these things. I'm close with him, but we are not phone calling every day. This is more fun.
Andres Jason surpasses you in the phone calling department, is what you're saying. That we also learned that Andres Jason calls Joe Scally, or vice versa, 5 days a week, and they FaceTime. So there you go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that big smile, I asked him about that too. He's seen the photo of the smile. He also remembers exactly the moment and what game. So we talk about that. You have to listen to the podcast though. But
come on, give us a little preview.
I just did that. There's your preview. He's talked about Joe Scally and Andres Jason calling him 5 times a week. But and that we will get the inside scoop a little later, maybe after they're not going to tell us everything they talk about at dinner. But I like to Scally's got this massive opportunity.
Yes,
Copa America. I mean, it's real. It looks like it's either him or Shaq Moore, and
they might alternate.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Well, they have 2 friendlies first. They're going to play Colombia and Brazil in 2 friendlies, so we'll see how they do there. Yeah. And then going forward, we'll see who makes a bid for that spot.
I think on Monday, I know Greg Berhalter addressed the media, and I could not be on it yesterday, but there's some good ones coming up next week. So hopefully we can grab some of that and share it here to see what. And I'll try to get on and ask about Scally, see if I can get some specifics from him.
And I'm thinking of going down to DC to go see the Colombia match. I still have to go get my credential, which I guess I'd better do soon. If not, I'm going to be out. But I'll take care of that, and then I'll figure out, getting down there and getting back, and how many nights I'm going to stay in DC if I go do that. So
now on the international level, there's another New York City FC homegrown, but it's the U17s in England. Christian McFarlane. Here's Christian. Why do I like this photo? What do I especially like about this photo, Roberto? Knowing me, look at it.
Where he's looking.
Good. That's it. Eyes are up. See that book behind me? It's called Eyes Up.
Yes.
It's all about awareness, baby.
Yeah.
And
he looks good in the Three Lions kit.
He does, and he's got a
As
choice.
the young people like to call it, or the Brits anyway.
They beat France 4-0 in their first game. He played 90 minutes in that one, so that's good news for him.
And I'm very happy, by the way, that Maximo Carrizo accepted the call-up for the U.S. under 16s.
Yeah.
Gonzalo Segares is in charge of that team, and so this is after they had an experience about a year ago where he was called into the U17 camp, and he didn't get a lot of playing time, and his dad basically and him thought it was an absolute waste of time, and basically swore off representing the United States. And basically, they were all in on Argentina. So to see him come back for this, and I wanted to speak to his dad today, but he wasn't at practice. So I'm gonna have to, ring him up or something and ask him, what changed and why. But I'm happy that he's representing the U.S. And by the way, one of the teams he gets to play, Argentina. Well,
that's perfect. And just Maximo Carrizo, a lot of people probably do know, but if you don't, he's a homegrown New York City, youngest player ever signed in MLS at 14 plus how many days, they have that all calculated. And Gonzalo, I was happy to hear about Carrizo because I'm going to be talking to Gonzalo for my SiriusXM show within the next month. So
awesome.
I'll have a chance I'll ask him specifically about, try to get something on Carrizo as well. Now, there's a former Swedish international who is a former New York City FC fullback, Anton Tinnerholm. I communicated recently with Anton. I don't stay in touch with a lot of players, but Anton and I became friendly, and he's back at Malmo. And I thought of Malmo because that Noah Ailey, the center back for the Red Bulls, came from Malmo. Malmo right now is leading top of the table. I looked, and Anton had only played 3 games recently, and I knew he was injured. And he wrote me back. I felt so bad for him. He's got a real mental test right now because he pulled his groin again. It was groin before he injured it again in training. So, he sent good vibes to New York City, watches the games, so he knows what's going on. And he's really happy that the team has turned it around from the early stages of the season. So he's following, and, we got to send our positive vibes to all these guys. Eber's the other one. I guess he's doing pretty well in China. So I'm glad he's found a spot too, All
right. I want to say hello to Quinny, who's watching and commenting on our podcast right now.
Okay. Who's Quinny?
Quinny is commenting from YouTube, as it turns out. He's watching on YouTube and commenting there. And he said, penalty 1, in quote marks, is a decision action where I'm from if it's converted. There it is.
Penalty 1 is
a penalty decision. 1
is a decision action. Is that?
It's when we were talking about the penalty and if you can get an assist for winning the penalty.
Well, if you've won the penalty, the only reason anybody's going to that spot is that somebody had to draw the foul. Okay, that's the only reason anybody's going to score the goal. So if in the run of play, I play a square ball to you and you finish that pass in 1 or 2 touches, to me it's the same. It's very similar. Or I put a 10-yard square ball to you and you pull it wide left and you miss. Shame on you, but no assist for me. So anyway, let's leave it at that. I just.
So there should be a category, potential assists.
Well, you could do it. I mean, if you have secondary.
I actually really do believe that, by the way. I think it would, if you had a category that was potential assists, all right, then you could have the guys who are making good passes and then that people should score on. And, that talks about, you get a chance really to evaluate, guys making other guys, trying to make other guys better, and then that not happening.
All right. So New York City against New England. Nick Cushing, some of the stuff you heard from Nick, the full interview coming up on my pregame show at 7:15 or hour. I'll be with Matt Lawrence on the New York City FC Network. Roberto and Ariel, they'll be on at 7:15 as well. And Roberto and Ariel will be on at 6 p.m. with their pregame live. That's a live stream, so you see faces. And then Maddie and I will do the same thing at 6:45, all from Gillette Stadium, where we can criticize the turf and all the different things, but man, we have a good view of the game there.
We sure do. It's not like, it's not 100 yards away.
No, and
then you don't confuse Hannes Wolf with Jovan Mijatovic.
You know what I like about it, and this might not interest anybody, but when you're trying to evaluate a game, commentate on it or analyze it, if you're too low, it's difficult. If you're high, it's great. But if you're commentating and you can't, it might be difficult if you're too far away. This seems like the perfect, and you can hear the players and the coaches in the technical area from our position at Gillette too, if it gets a little heated. And a lot of times we've done games there where there have been very few people in the stands. I don't know what it's going to be like this weekend. Why were there so many people last weekend? I forgot to look. What was going on?
I don't know exactly what that weekend was, but I do remember that earlier, before the season started, they had spoken about that they had their best year ever of selling tickets for this upcoming season. And it wasn't just because, Lionel Messi was going to play there and they got over 65,000 for that.
Right.
But that just in general. Also, watch at the end of the season. I don't know what their marketing department does and their ticketing department does, but this is yearly. Watch the last 2 or 3 home games at the end of the season and watch what those crowds are. They're always over 30,000. And, I know that they want to build a stadium closer to Boston because Gillette's 40 minutes away on a good day. So for them to get those crowds is pretty damn impressive. And hopefully they'll eventually be able to build a stadium closer to Boston, and they'll sell it out regularly. I have no doubt that they'll sell it out regularly.
It made me think of something I heard yesterday about Atalanta, who beat Bayern Leverkusen in the Europa League final. 2 days ago? Or was it yesterday? I can't remember. I don't even know.
It was
yesterday. And do you know what this is support? This is like the right thing to do. I would love if New York City would do this. Every baby born in their home community, they present the baby with an Atalanta with a top, with a jersey for the baby.
Adorable. That's a great thing.
How great is that?
I'm all in on that. Absolutely.
Now I don't know how many. I don't know how many.
We've given you an idea.
I don't know how many babies there are born each day there as compared to the. I wonder how many babies are born.
Do that. I mean, I think that's a brilliant idea. Go make a deal with a Gap or Carter's or anybody who sells babies clothing, and go do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, and have
absolutely. Oh my God, I think it's a brilliant idea.
I heard. I was roaring with approval, but it's also Well, I'd like to tell just a brief Toronto story. Our favorite team, Toronto 5, CF Montreal 1, the last MLS match that Toronto played. They were brilliant. Celebrations after the match. So we get these press releases the next morning, and I usually look through the transcripts of the press release. And Toronto does a great job, like word for word. They put the whole thing in there. So I don't know who questioned from the media. The celebrations after the match. This is to John Herdman. And the media member says, I thought I saw a Toronto player wearing cut off by Herdman. No comment. I didn't see that. Look, they love their fans. The fans love them. I don't know who it was. And then the questioner said, Sig, as in Sigurd Rostedt. And then Herdman said, oh, big Sig. And then the questioner goes, is that the way a classy team responds to a win? And let's just before we hear Herdman's response, let's just say the T-shirt that he opened up after beating Montreal 5-1 was FCK-MTL or F Montreal.
Yeah. Oh God.
That's Rosted. That's a player. Okay. Now look, rivalries are rivalries, but I mean, so is that a classy team? Is that a way a classy team responds to a win to John Herdman? Herdman's response, it's not the way we want to be seen. That's for sure. Yeah. We don't want to be seen like that.
Oh God.
Wow.
Seriously? They really did that?
Yep. And then
And
Herdman,
this
I like
after all the suspensions and everything after New York City. By the way, Ariel Judas is listening, and he just texted us. Maxi Morales, and I saw this, and I forgot to mention it, but Maxi Morales used to play for Atalanta, and he was very, very happy that his former club won Europa League.
Oh, good.
And ended Bayern Leverkusen's, 53
51 or,
game, whatever. It's like
crazy.
over 50 game undefeated streak. That's pretty damn good.
That's
so
the
congratulations, Atalanta.
Craziest thing I've ever heard. I wanted to make a note about FC Cincinnati because to me, there's different things where you go, yeah, this is a coach and a coaching staff that really understand how to manage these things. FC Cincinnati beat St. Louis 3-1. Cincinnati under coach Pat Noonan and his staff, now with a record of 15 wins, 2 losses, and 5 draws when playing on 2 days rest.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. That's an incredible record.
Yes.
Almost unbelievable. But I'll have to go with the Cincinnati press corps and believe it. And then Nick told us something today. We probably should have. We were talking about. I don't want to screw this up because
let's try not to.
Oh no, I didn't listen back to this part of the
interview.
Yeah, he started the interview by going, "I've got some facts for you," and it had to do with their current streak and run of form. Well, you're just gonna have to listen.
You're gonna have to listen because he interrupted you to tell you
I know.
what the stat was.
Well, you were there. What was the stat?
I don't remember it either.
Okay.
You're asking me to remember something, and you had your mind.
Oh my goodness! Well, maybe it'll come to me before, but it was pretty good. It was pretty cool. Oh, I don't. It had something to do with it had only happened 4 other times in history, and this is the first time it had happened with 2 road games in the midst of it. What the hell? Oh, anyway.
All right. Yeah, it's another reason to tune in to your broadcast tomorrow, or rather Saturday.
It's Saturday. And then I followed that up by telling him, well, did you know the last time your club, he wasn't there, but your club won 3 road games in a row, which New York City is trying to do this week? And he said, no, I don't. And it was 2019, April 21st, May 4th, May 11th, at DC United, at Montreal, at LA Galaxy. So they're trying to tie that mark at New England. So
5 years ago, over 5 years ago.
Dang, I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah.
That's a long time. All right, Roberto, what do you say? Let's kick it around, huh?
Let's do that.
All right. I'm still trying to grasp onto what Nick told me. Apple TV and MLS Season Pass, I almost passed out when I read this, will be broadcasting the remaining U.S. Open Cup games. 4 the quarterfinals, the semis, and the championship match, I think it's September the 25th, are all going to be on MLS Season Pass. Now, why, Roberto, would you think it was so shocking for me when I read this?
Why? Because they got them for free? No, and they did get them for free. They got them for free. It's a one-off deal. They got them for free.
Because MLS and Apple TV have ignored the U.S. Open Cup. That's why I almost fell off my chair and passed out.
Well, when there's a business
Maybe
opportunity,
not in that order.
Then things get better.
No, I'm happy that there's been an adjustment in the thinking. I mean, I go back to a digital graphic that MLS produced and put up on their Twitter account. It was either on MLS Communications or MLS, where they did all these caricatures of a lot of players in the league. And they also had caricatures of like Wilfred Nancy holding the MLS Cup. Who's the Supporter Shield winners last year? Oh my gosh,
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Pat Noonan with Cincinnati, and Lionel Messi had the League's Cup. Who wasn't there? No Ben Olsen from Houston holding the U.S. Open Cup title.
Yeah.
It was not in their digital graphic preseason promotional blah 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 tweet. That's what they think of the U.S. Open. So
they were trying. I mean, at that point, I'm not saying that they were right or anything. They're far from it, but they were pissed off, I guess. There was a pretty obvious disagreement between MLS and U.S. Soccer on all of this, and MLS was wrong. MLS was absolutely wrong, and hopefully this gets resolved next year. I understand where they were coming from as far as, having a very congested schedule and all of that, but they should play the U.S. Open Cup and celebrate the U.S. Open Cup, and they should be a grand part of the reason why the U.S. Open Cup should be a very, very important title to win and not relegated. And look, U.S. Soccer has been, guilty of this since, forever, about not giving, the U.S. Open Cup the type of marketing that it absolutely deserves. I mean, it should be elevated within this country to the level of which it's elevated in England with the FA Cup and Copa del Rey in Spain. It should be that. And when they don't do that, and it gets treated like an aside, then it's a different system. It's a different thing. So I really hope that they elevate it, because I think it's great. It's the oldest trophy in dispute in the United States.
And that call that David Lee got on a weekday afternoon from MLS saying you're going to have to enter your 2 team. It's the orders from MLS. And the one thing you can say is these New York City FC 2 players, they all got experiences that otherwise they would not, with what you said, 700 plus at Belson Stadium the other night.
Yeah.
The normal crowd for an MLS Next Pro match, it's probably 40 or 50. I don't think I'm exaggerating. There's no one at those games. And although some supporters groups come out to all the games, which are
they do good for them.
That is fantastic. Yeah. So maybe it's the 50 plus the 20 or 25 or more that come in.
The parents, basically parents and friends and family of the players, plus the supporters. And look, a big cheer to the supporters, by the way. They turned up in pretty decent numbers for that game. They made a hell of a lot of noise, and good for Third Rail and Los Templados and everybody else. They did a great job, giving the background, to that game noise-wise. It was a nice symphony from them. But too bad that the kids couldn't pull it out. They punched above their weight. A different class of team, but this time they couldn't get it done, and they wound up losing 3-0.
Yeah,
but
to
they had a great run. They won 4 games and against teams they had no business beating. So good for them, and they showed that there's quality within MLS Next Pro. They were the last team standing for the 3rd division. Very good for them.
Yep, getting into the round of 16. It should be noted, Jovan Mijatovic started at striker and had a pretty good chance in front of goal. And with the left foot, he just dragged it wide right, and that would have been 1-0.
Yeah.
We've talked about Mounsef Bakrar throughout the year. That's a striker's finish. Well, that's one that you would expect a striker in form to put in the back of the net, and that could have changed the complexion of that.
Especially a first-team striker.
Yeah. So,
and I mean that is also Strahinja Tanasievich, as I spoke to him today, and I said, okay, please tell me how to pronounce your name correctly. And it's Strahinja Tanasievich is what we basically got. Between Tanasievich and Tanasievich was very close, but it turns out it is Tanasievich.
Well, it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm going to have to sit in front of a mirror and practice 100 times, man.
You could just sit in front of a microphone. You don't have to look at yourself. Why punish yourself in that form? You don't need to.
No, because it's how it's pronounced, and then where your tongue is behind your teeth.
I don't need to see. I'm on radio. I don't need to see where my tongue is.
It's the enunciation, man.
I have a face for radio, and we'll keep it that way.
Okay. So, yep. So they're now they're back to just their regular MLS Next Pro season. Antoine Griezmann. So, here's what happens. Any of these free agents or guys out of contract that all of a sudden show up in New York City on vacation and then somebody gets a picture, it's like, maybe. And especially when it's with his agent. Let's show this thing. This is Griezmann on the subway with his, the agency's general director. I do not know Hector Fernandez Bravo, but and they've got a lot of Seattle gear on, so I don't know what that's all about. But
I think the agent represents one of the Seattle players and baseball. I mean, one of the baseball players. Because they were going to go. I think they were going to Yankee Stadium for the Mariners and the Yankees.
Oh, okay, so they're on their way to Yankees game. Griezmann is there, and now the hashtag was for two teams, NYCFC and the New York Red Bulls. So there for the taking is, I guess, their message there. So there he is. Great.
He can go play for the Sounders with the Seattle gear. I mean, what the hey? They need some help. Although they did win in the U.S. Open Cup.
He'd be an 18-goal, 10-assist guy, like automatic in MLS. At least, I think. At least. So it'd be interesting to see him. What is this Reynoso? Update us on this Reynoso saga at Minnesota with the United. Easily you could arguably say when he was playing and in form, he was one of the top players in MLS, but he didn't show up. I mean, there's no way they were going to bring this guy back anyway. So what's going on?
So I don't know if he's still Minnesota property or not, but they're saying that he's going to sign with Xolos of Tijuana, Xolocuintles, if you want to say the word properly, which is a hairless dog. So he's going to sign with the Xolocuintles. I mean, I don't know where that's going to stand after what happened. So he was featured in a home video of some sort, holding wads of cash and a gun. And that went viral on social media. And now he was supposed to sign with Tijuana, has Juan Carlos Osorio as a coach. Yeah. He was just hired as a coach there, replacing Herrera, El Piojo Herrera in Tijuana. Xolos hasn't played very well for several years now. And after being, having one of the better academies in Mexico, using Mexico and Tijuana, Tijuana and San Diego, and being able to recruit from both sides of the border and doing a great job of that. So many great players came out of there, Paul Arriola, among others. And now they've fallen sort of on hard times. So they bring in Osorio. We'll see how he does. But I don't know if they're going to follow through on Bebelo Reynoso after that video. It sort of reminds me of who was this basketball player that just basically went through the same thing. John Morant for the Memphis Grizzlies. And he was caught on social media holding a gun, and he was suspended for 25 games from the NBA. So then he came back, and then he got injured. He's out for the rest of the season, and he's one of the top players in the NBA, Jean Morant.
Xolos, they've got some competition in terms of young players and developing young players. I just interviewed Joaquin Escoto. I don't know if you've heard him or know him. He is the guy who founded Alianza de Football. That's where Jonathan Gonzalez was discovered. There were many others as well, but he's the guy. He's almost like their poster child of people didn't know who he was, including teams in MLS, because MLS generally didn't come out to this event. These shows. Oh
yeah, it's horrific. It was all Mexican teams coming across the border to see all these dual nationals, and they weren't only Mexican American players. They were Salvadorian Americans, Honduran Americans, and and just Americans or whatever, but everybody got a chance to play. And MLS refused to scout for a long time. It was crazy.
Well, that's what's interesting about Escoto, and this is one of the questions I asked him. He'll be on next week with me on Sirius XM. He is the executive vice president in charge of Right to Dream Academy for San Diego FC, the new MLS entrant, which will debut next year in 2025. And his job, it's an academy, it's free, and he's definitely going into underserved communities because that's part of his makeup. And Right to Dream started in Africa, but it's also in Egypt, it's in Denmark. And I asked him about Mexico, and he's Mexican. So he was like, oh yeah, we'll be in Tijuana, looking around. And it's ages 12 through 18. It's a free school, and it's a real academy, a private school with the soccer. So like classes in the morning, soccer, a little more classes, soccer, homework, go to bed. I mean, wow. And San Diego FC, it's unique to MLS. Philadelphia has something similar, but it's not a similar residency with the school and the soccer. And I believe the Galaxy have something, and Houston has something, but it's not this private academic offering. So it was a real interesting story to hear from him how it's all going to run. And Right to Dream Academy, San Diego, it's in Southern California now. So that's one to look out for, because that academy is going to be very good.
Alianza did a fantastic job getting underserved communities, players from underserved communities that were basically ignored by either MLS or US soccer with all their scouts and all that, to get them, seen and giving them a chance to be able to have a future in soccer, which is just absolutely fantastic. I was a big supporter of that organization. I really liked them.
All right, Roberto, that's all I got. Anything from you?
I have a couple of things. So, for the past couple of weeks, we've been having some minor issues with some technical issues with our radio broadcast outside of the United States. So, we're going to be sharing a second link outside of TuneIn until we can figure this out on what's going on. For those of you outside of the States who want to listen to English or in Spanish, we'll be sharing which basically our Mixler TuneIn, our Mixler address, so you can listen there if you're having trouble listening to the games on TuneIn. So we know we've had this issue, and we're trying to figure it out so everybody can get a chance to listen to their favorite team no matter where they are. So it's just going to be different address, but it's going to be the same broadcast in English and in Spanish.
And we can't ever assume that people are just always watching the game, even if they're going to pick the television announcers, which, it's fine. It's a choice. You've got your hometown commentators here, but I think it's naive to think that everybody has paid for this Apple TV package. They might be in an area where it's not even offered. Maybe they're visiting somebody and it's not offered. So I think what we do offer, Roberto, is value. What we offer is hometown. What we offer is knowing the team, traveling with the team, and understanding what they're all about, and in a non-homer way. And I think that's what we give them. Yep.
Yeah, and then also there are a lot of people who are in their cars and they want to know what's going on, and you should not be watching video if you're in a car and driving. You should definitely not do that. No. Listen to the game. All you have to do is have the TuneIn app or the NYCFC.com/radio address, and then you can listen to the game. So and for this weekend, we'll send out the Mixler one, so you can have that as well, and you can listen to it if you happen to be driving, wherever you are. You'll be able to listen to the game and not put your life and everybody else's life in danger just because you're hearing Glenn scream goal.
My life was in danger coming to the training facility today. I don't know where this rain came from, but ole mole. And then I read, half of New Jersey's out of power, but it was it was torrential. There were a lot of, and on the highway, the New Jersey Turnpike, I mean, there were massive areas where the water would, I don't know. It was, I don't really.
You didn't get the hail. You were lucky. There are areas where there were penny-sized balls of hail, which is, by the way, not very good for the paint of your car. In your case, it probably would have cleaned your car off.
My car's in good shape. You're going to love the scratch I got on the driver's side of the car, too. I'll just have to show you next time. It's brilliant. God. I was trying to park in Secaucus, in this little tight area at the train station. And, what am I going to do? I had a train to catch. Hey, and finally,
as a
most
car
important-
lover,
most-
it hurts me.
most importantly, we're going to when we go to Gillette again. The privilege of us being able to travel with the team, we stay in a place called Patriots Place. So for the supporters who have gone to Gillette, you probably have stayed in that. You probably have stayed in that hotel, which is right next to the stadium. But they have a bowling alley at Patriots Place. So Roberto, you're officially challenged.
Oh, we're going to do this again?
Yes, and the winner, it'll be bragging rights, and we'll announce it on the next NYCFC Views. Who's the winner.
It sounds good. I haven't bowled since then, by the way, because my
I
rotator
haven't
cuff's
either.
a shot. But
I'm not a bowler.
We're going to go figure it out.
Roberto still has his own bowling.
Of course I do.
Bring
I'm
it
not
with
bringing
you.
a bowling ball. No, it's too big of a
Bring it.
case. I'm not doing it.
Oh, come on. The charter can handle it. All right, that's it. So 6:00, Roberto and Ariel on their live stream pregame. Watch it. 6:45, myself and Maddie live stream pregame. I hope you'll watch it. And then 7:15, Spanish over there, English over here, with the live commentary on the New York City FC Network. So thanks for joining us tonight for another live NYCFC Views. For Roberto, I'm Glenn. Enjoy the night, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.